Alrighty. We're finally getting Hohenheim. Actually, we're getting A.E.D.D. Gregor. Wait, hang on. We're getting LCE, E.G.O, A.E.D.D. Gregor, who is also just Hohenheim Gregor, but from the past. I won't lie, I am decidedly not that hyped for this guy. It's another charge ID, and even looking through what was available from the A.E.D. E.G.Os of the past, they don't exactly spark joy. That said, he's one of the more unique charge IDs, and Gregor's first 000 charge ID, which is saying a lot since the last charge ID he got was Rose Spanner. And that fella is pretty terrible outside of his niche. That said, this fella is unlikely to replace him in that exact same niche due to a variety of factors. Anyhow, let's just get on with it. This is the last video I'm putting out before a short vacation in the States. Since he is, say it with me, a modern ID, it's best we start with his passives as those inform the usage of his skills. Starting out, we've got Undying Persistence. Project Moon has decided that charge potency is the way to go moving forward, and he's another ID that gains charge potency for every 10 charge he consumes. Aside from that, Man gets a unique version of Charge Barrier anytime he receives Charge Barrier. Seeing as there are 2 merchants out there for it, it is worth keeping in mind. Charge potency gives him a better speed range, and finally, we get to steal the Shock Centipede's undying bullshit in the form of getting self-charge. It works pretty much as you'd expect. Can't go under 1 HP until it counts down and expires. Moving along, we've got Alternating Discharge Supports. This one is pretty much E.G.O Gear Proficiency Manual, but with a few adjustments. Everyone gets the benefits this time, and it's a single offense level instead. Aside from that, when using A.E.D.D. Gregor's passive, the E.G.O, not the ID, he can consume shield instead of charge to give someone else charge. This one is a bit odd since we really do want to consume a lot of charge with this ID, and this kinda just reduces that. It does, however, let him preserve his charge counts for use with his skills for the relevant benefits. Finally, his Fueled passive, Take the Lead, I'll provide you support. First off, Man gets to gain charge count at combat starts. Honestly, that's nice regardless of it just being once per encounter, since now he can use it with his skills out the gates. Next though, at combat end, he hands off charge count to others, in the process consuming it. This has a whole bunch of conditionals tied to it, I'll lay that out on the screen for you. But it more or less boils down to, deploy him after the fellas you want to fuel. He'll also just stop fueling others after he's turboed up enough, at least with this first part. On the other hand, the Resonance part here lets him apply charge count to others in earlier deployment as well, working off of both Gloom and Envy, those of which are exceedingly common in charge-based compositions to begin with. Once again, there's a bunch of conditionals tied to this one as well. Once he has enough potency, he doubles the amount of charge he's putting out too. Now, if there isn't anyone else with earlier deployment order, Man just gains count instead for himself. With the foundation out of the way, we can get to his actual skills, those of which are oddly multimodal, but in a weird way due to how he generates and consumes charge count. Skill 1 is Electrical Release. It's a simple 2-coiner that scales off of both charge potency and charge count, notably gaining him additional charge count if he doesn't have enough of it. The potency gives him coin power and damage, whereas count gives him clash power. The count generated by the on-use effect sadly doesn't factor in for clash power as it triggers after in the order. As with most other charge IDs, it gets him a base amount of charge count that deals some status potency. In this case, it's Rupture following closer to the E.G.O rather than the boss, who inflicts Paralyze and Bleed. Skill 2 is DC Inversion. It takes most of the conditionals from the first skill in getting damage and coin power from potency, but instead gains base power from counts. It also throws in an unbreakable coin for the sake of it. This skill gains charge count, slaps in some Rupture, and most importantly, applies Photoelectricity, a debuff that was previously unique to Multicrack Heathcliff. Having a source of it here is solid stuff that helps everyone else generate plenty of charge. Moving along, we've got 2 skill 3s, the first being High Voltage Current Discharge. First off, we get his unique charge barrier, coin power based on charge potency, and a token unbreakable coin. Finally though, we get coin power from charge count consumption. Not a bad laundry list of conditionals. Aside from that, gain more charge counts, deal all of his debuffs at once. The new one here being Charge Sting. This thing is a fancy debuff that boosts damage from charge-based skills and furthermore, Charge Envy skills. I'm a bit on the fence with this one since charge needs other payoffs besides raw damage, but it's fine really, just lump on more damage. As for S3-2, it's maximum output, ultra high voltage current discharge. AoE with this season's broken ass damage increase based on excess attack weights. We get coin power from charge potency, base and coin power from count, and even more damage from charge counts burned through. Whole thing is unbreakable and no longer generates some charge counts. But, as per the first S3, inflicts all his debuff package in one go. Now for the defense skill, it gets him his unique charge barrier, scales on charge potency, and gives him some charge counts. There's a smidge of aggro too, I suppose. Despite how complicated this kit may look initially, it's very simple in actual usage and doesn't require any insane jank to get working. That said, we've got a few odd conditionals to get things really going as best as possible. This time around, I think we're gonna do charge envy res. Throw in some rupture where it fits, I suppose, but otherwise we'll try to get as many benefits out of this fella as possible. Notably, we're looking for fellas that can reliably output envy damage with charge attached to it. For this reason, I'm going to restrict myself from using the middle members. While they're the easy solution here for all your envy and raw damage needs, I'd like to see how much potentiality I can pull out of charge alone this time. Plus, let's start with the basics and work upwards. From the multi-crack office, we're taking Faust. She gains many benefits from consuming large amounts of charge, and was one of the first to get the cumulative charge benefits to begin with. Her S2 dumps out stupid amounts of damage when enough charge has been consumed, and the S3 throws out envy fragility for fun. The passive is one that essentially increases her damage as fights go longer, or as she dumps out charge. That, and it's conveniently giving her execution damage. Quite a lot of it, even scaling off of charge potency rather than HP percent. As for her E.G.Os, Hexnail is useful enough, though she's unlikely to be our fastest. Telepole lets her scale up more damage, though I'd recommend using it after she scales up herself, as to let her S1 consume more counts before this thing's use. As for our other solo, we're looking at In the Name of Love and Hate Dawn. She's another cumulative charge ID and has plenty of bloody envy to abuse. She functionally plays herself here and gives us a free source of wrath for any E.G.Os to boot. She hits hard, doesn't care that much for her own sanity, and has access to AoE bullshit. Letting her turbo up faster is huge amounts of coin power and final power for her negative side. As for E.G.Os, we've got Electric Screaming for a charge sync and odd power up. Telepole for more battery access, and finally her linked E.G.O in the Name of Love and Hate, Major Arcana Slave. The last one is an even bigger charge nuke and lets her send out her big lasers more often. That and it straight up just funnels her damage even more. Honestly, if you Superbia, this is just broken as all hell. Moving along, let's look at the W Corp package. Since we don't need to worry about A-Res compared to teams that take the middle, we can take W Corp Heathcliff. The more charge this fella gets access to, the harder his S3 is allowed to hit. Considering the amounts that Gregor can pass out at a whim, we can abuse this for plenty of consistent damage and should be able to easily max out all of his conditions as required. With his S3 being envy to boot, he gets damage out of charge sting. Aside from that, he can tank real well and gains plenty of benefits from doing so. As a Heathcliff, he provides access to a few important and potent E.G.Os. Move-in Reg is one of the newer ones we can abuse for some envy related benefits. This one specifically inflicts Resident Reg Micro Chip, that of which boosts the team's envy damage on a target. Then comes his Telepole. It's a quick boost in charge if required and gets him some extra charge in longer fodder encounters. As for the most important by far, Binds. This one offers ridiculous amounts of offense and defense level, especially during envy on turns. Funding it can be a bit of a bitch due to the lust, that of which sits only on Faust. Next, we can throw in W Corp Otis. Main benefits here are load and charge barrier. Even better, it's charge barrier on her S2. Reminder that if this hits Gregor, he gets his unique charge barrier instead. Aside from that, she powers up other W Corp IDs, and since we're bringing 3 of them, it's gonna come in pretty handy. In terms of E.G.Os, we get I'll Go for Scissors. How about you? While it's not as insane here compared to in more bleed-centric envy compositions, it's a light heal and E.G.O resource conversion. This will help us fuel binds by turning our envy bricks into more useful resources getting spread around. Aside from that, the curse is nice to have, and power down from the passive can help close out encounters as required. As for Dimension Shredder, it's an AoE and raw damage boost. It can deal out quite a lot of damage and otherwise flush out her charge count to gain potency instead. As for the last fella, we'll be using W Corp Musso. Yeah, he's a bit of a weirdo, but his jank does offer us some weird things to play with. His S2 offers us 2 slash fragile, that of which Gregor can make full use of depending on the speed. The S3 also offers a whopping 8 defense level down, which can let others put out a rather surprising amount of extra raw damage. Where things get interesting with bringing a Musou is his E.G.Os. Rather, the TEP slot is a bloody nightmare this time round. Screw Loose Wallop, Electric Screaming, and Regrets are all compelling. Regret less so for once. Screw Loose lets the fella go faster and apply both his debuffs more reliably. He also gets more damage to boot, letting him actually contribute. As for the main rival, Electric Screaming is ungodly. In any NV charge-based composition, you should consider this. It hands out a stupid amount of charge to pretty much everyone else, and NV damage up to a bunch of others as well. Since W Musou can go pretty fast, this is actually quite reasonable to get out and fast turbo everyone involved, including Gregor. Aside from that, he provides a mini binds passive in Electric Screaming's passive, just for NV only though. The final toss-up is between R-Corp Hongers and Red Eyes and Penitent's Ryoshu. Hongers is far more consistent in regards to Envy. He also offers SP damage in the form of sinking that allows him to make clashing more consistent for everyone. The main appeal here is his S2, Mind Whip. As an Envy skill, it goes particularly hard with 4 coins and plenty of damage conditionals. Coupled with Charge Sting, this stretches surprisingly far in the way of damage, especially with the additional stagger threshold Razor. In terms of E.G.Os, we only care about Dimension Shredder, which lets us hand out Fragile and speed up his charge gain. On top of that, it gives him a Def Cheat. For extra fragile application, bringing Hongers offers a solid amount of extra damage output. We can of course just take him as a support and get a little extra damage on final coins. Not a bad include either way. As for Ryoshu, she's an E.G.O user which benefits from Gregor's passive. The extra offense level lets her clash better, especially as her offense level is otherwise on the low end at +1, +2, and 3. Though Gregor's bonus is only a single offense level, it is to 3 different team members. Regardless, her benefits lie in sanity stabilization and lust generation, allowing Heathcliff to drop binds more easily. Aside from that, having access to Red Eyes and Red Eyes Open is nice, especially the latter, in allowing her a way to fix herself to Envy during on-turns as required. Alas, one final option considering the E.G.O user requirements of Gregor's passive, Knight of Despair Rodya. She provides the benefits of R-Corp Hongers, but on a more consistent base. The only issue being her Envy access is only about as stable as W-Corp Otis's skill buckets. Lacking more Envy in her skills hurts the overall consistency of the composition. Alternatively, you could field R-Corp Rodya. I wouldn't recommend it due to how much of a pain in the ass she is to use, but it does open the door for Hex now more often than not. Out of which being a nice little heal bump and some real solid application of Curse. Regardless, go with any of the above. In the backline, we can toss in W-Corp Yi Sung. Though we're extremely unlikely to build a real Rupture stack, getting a little extra damage is nice to have anyway. It's up to a 15% bump, but we'll take it. If you don't take Ryoshu, take her instead for her passive, that of which offers a tiny bump in SP and HP. For Ishmael, you can make use of Kira Ishmael, that of which offers our number 1 deployed Sinner a pretty decent bump in clashing and damage during Envy on turns. For Sinclair, we can bring in either the One Who Shall Grip or the middle. One offers extra blunt damage, the other some defense level. If you take him as backup, he can of course come clean up if things go horrifically wrong. As for Rodya, if you don't end up taking her, Zishi for some generic blunt boost on Heathcliff, else quite a lot of Rodyas are usable here. Caveat for those that inflict Rupture, the Reindeer if you take Hongers, the Knight of Despair even to boost up Don. There's quite a lot of benefits you can get here. If you somehow raise enough RAF, even LCB is viable, which is pretty wild. Anyhow, how do we play this composition? Well, for starters, deployment is extremely important this time. Rather, it's emphasized so much in Gregor's passives that it's unavoidable. Keep things simple, take everyone that has cumulative charge bonuses of potency and put them ahead of Gregor. This is pretty much everyone here but Musou. This will let Gregor output charge count to everyone else as required. Consider sorting fellas based on support passives as well and speed ties that you'll want to break. If you want to keep things even simpler, just place Musou up front to break all ties and Gregor in the very last slots. Yeah, there's not really much else besides souping them after that. Turn 1, get 2 Gloom and 2 Envy, get a Wrath from Don as well if possible. This gets Gregor's passive online and prepares some E.G.O resources for us to use later. Plot in Heathcliff's defensive here as well in order to get his engine running. Turn 2, this is an Envy off turn, so focus on getting as many resources towards binds or other E.G.Os. Gregor can use any skill here realistically. If possible, we want to build up one of the following 2 spreads. 6 Envy, 1 Wrath, and 2 Gloom, or 5 Gloom and 5 Envy. This will dictate create our turn free play. Turn free, this should be an all envy turn if possible. If we went for 6 envy and a Wrath, we can slot in Merceau's Electric Screaming and still get the benefit of Gregor's battery passives. Otherwise, if we took the other routes, you can use Gregor's AEDD. If you want the stupidest way to use this E.G.O, overclock it. It'll prioritize your allies, slapping them for the damage, but giving them 7 charge count each. Honestly, I'd just take the sheep route. From there, it's pretty much freestyle. Use the skill 1 to build up charge, skill 2 to spend it, and skill 3 to dump out all of his debuffs at once. Ideally, you'll want to use his skill 3 at 5 charge potency, but I'm going to be so real with you, fights do not go on long enough to get the maximum effectiveness out of this guy. Getting to 5 potency is a bit of a pipe dream, unless you manage to use the AEDD E.G.O to speed up his burning of count. However, even then, it's not exactly fantastic either, until then fall behind an SP and can't hit heads to begin with. I'd go further on how to make him more usable, but I'll be pretty honest, he's not providing as much as most would really want, at least not in short fights. I know the meme is tired, but this man is really potential man, in a very literal sense. He needs charge count to burn into potency. To burn that count, he needs sanity, and to even enable his fastest burning methods, he needs the E.G.O. All of this places him on a much longer timer than you'd otherwise want. Since the charge he hands out is super inefficient in being halved, it only really hurts more. When doing the math, one can't help but sigh at the low numbers present in his kits. I expected a lot more from the guy after the preview, and he only serves to disappoint. If he had a single way of fully flushing out charge, or using more than he currently does, he'd be more usable. But as it is, he builds it fast but doesn't spread it fast enough. And to get to that polished, well-oiled engine stage of his kit, he needs major SP bumps and consistency boosts, those of which detract from the rest of the team. Plus, despite being based off of my favourite side character in Limbus, this fella is a wet noodle and nowhere near what one would honestly expect. As Gregor's proper debut into charge, I'd have to say I'm quite disappointed. The numbers are just too low. Apologies for the dour notes, I was looking forward to using him to shake up charge a little more. Instead we got a very underwhelming ID, all things considered. Most of that is in tying his engine to the E.G.O, which very clearly hampered his design space. Anyhow, did my best in trying to get him to work in a less than ideal team. Perhaps that's my fault for expecting him to do much more there. But nonetheless, if you enjoyed the content, like the video and subscribe to see more in the future. Special thanks to A.E.D.D and Derp for supporting on Patreon. I am going on holiday for a bit, so you'll be getting 2 scheduled videos in the meantime. Regardless, appreciate it.